G'day folks, today we are in for a treat. We're going to be joined by a man who played 378 games for the Essendon Bombers, a two-time premiership player in 1984 and 85, three times All-Australian. He represented Victoria on 17 occasions. He is an absolute superstar, one of the best ruckmen ever to play the game. Simon Madden is his name, and we're looking forward to hearing from him and what he's been up to with the coronavirus situation, also what he's been up to post-footy, and what it was like playing in the brutal era of the 1980s. That and plus much, much more on Legends with Bevo.
Welcome to Legends with Bevo. Thanks to the Holdy Hotel, Coopers and Anytime Fitness Glenelg.
Simon Madden, great to have you on Legends with Bevo, mate. How are you going at the moment with this coronavirus situation, and what have you been doing to keep yourself busy?
Bevo, nice to be here. Thanks for the opportunity to speak to your followers and all the good people out there in this very strange and wonderful time. Now, you live in interesting times. It's supposed to be an old Chinese curse, but in actual fact, it comes from a speech by a business person or philanthropist in Boston in 1936. I don't know why I know these things, but I do. It's ridiculous. And so, but it is. It's still, mate, you live in interesting times. I'm going very well. I've worked from home for 11 years. So I run my own business and consulting practice. And so the only thing is, you're not getting out as much. So that's the thing that I think a lot of people will have troubles with. I got a lot of ideas about what you should do with that, but that's for another talk. But as long as you, the big thing is in any of this is it's not what happens to you, it's how you handle it. And so it's having that positive outlook when you get up in the morning and say, this is going to be the best day I can make it today. So that's the attitude you got to have. That's the way you got to approach sport. In this situation, that's the way you got to approach it as well. So it's not what happens to you, it's how you handle it is really important.
Yeah, I love it. And Simon Madden Consulting is your business. You do some online mentoring with other businesses. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, look, I've been working for myself for about 11 years now. I actually work from home doing it. So I have no problems with setting up an office. So I've been working with organisations, so the individual, the team, the leadership and the culture. And I work on what I call sustainable high performance, which is how to get good and stay good. And it's about leadership training, it's about individual coaching, and I call it business personal coaching because if you talk about your business, it always includes your personal life because it's part of your personal life, and that's one-on-one stuff. And I'm looking to do more of that online in this situation. So, if you're any of your listeners out there want some of that, I'll give them a very good discount because of being if they mention Bevo. And no, not everybody's got the money that they would have had last month or 6 months ago or 3 months ago. But I'm looking to do that. And people have said to me what they like about my coaching is they get people instead of looking here, they actually look there. They start to look at the big picture. And that's really important in business. But also I've done it with a few sports people. But it's about business. And it's what I have. Education background. I played high performance sport and been in business, small, medium, large, national, international, my own for 25 years. So it's a combination of that, about how to educate people about high performance in business. And I really enjoy it. And I really sometimes you get good compliments. I got this backhanded compliment from one day. I was working with a group in Coles actually, and we finished this and this lady came up to me with a wry smile and said, I hate you. And I said, why? And she said, I've got to think about this. I can't not think about it. I've got to do it. I said, that's the job. That's the idea, to get you to run your life, to make it the best you can be. So, yeah, it's good. I really enjoy it. So hopefully, you can't do the group. You used to do a lot of group training. You can't do that, but can do some individual stuff online. So we're looking at developing that. Also, I've got a good friend in a fellow who runs a Soundstorm Trivia and Talking Talent. We're looking at trying to get some things online for that. So maybe some old. Scott Kennedy is a good man, which maybe trying to get an online version of the old Sportsman's Lunch or Night, where you could get sports people online and people could join in for a minimal fee that's not too expensive, but get some of that because we've got to, in this strange world, we've got to come up with ways and means of still living the best life we can. And we all know those great sportsmen's nights or lunches have always been a good part of life. So how do we how do we sort of build one of those in as well? That'd be really interesting. And of course, I said, like for me, one-on-one coaching is important, or mentoring, and there's sort of a balance. If you're coaching somebody, if they don't know what you're coaching them, and if they do know what you're mentoring them, so that's really important. Everybody needs a mentor of some type. So yeah, and of course, trivia is big. Everybody's into trivia, and Scott's got some really good trivia happening. So we're looking at doing that for some of the organisations. So a whole lot of things we're going to be working at. Just a little tip for all your people out there, if they've got a home office. I've done this for home there. If you have an office like this is my office for years, and I'm in my casual seat, so I'm actually not following the plan, but I've been out exercising. If you're in the office, you work here, and then if you sit on the couch, you actually can be in your trackies, and that's working from home. So you're in your office here, or you're on the couch, you're working from home. And even if you've got a nook, in your, in your back room, that's your office. So you think about that as work, and you get dressed and you come to work. And then if you want to sit at home in your trackie, sit on the couch, sit at the kitchen table and be that working from home person. So you actually get a nice little break in your own mind. So you're not every day getting up in your pajamas, not getting out of your pajamas, then putting a shirt on from here up for the video. And then going back to bed at lunchtime and have a sleep. You've really got to. It's just a mind twist. This thing's. I've seen a lot of people online come up early and give lots of ideas, which is great. But we're in for the long haul here, so we'll have to come back and revisit this in 4 weeks, probably, maybe even 6 months. We might still be here. So
got some good ideas.
I get the guitar. Out every now and then and have a break and all those things. So we'll see how we go.
Hey, I must have mentioned as well, Scotty Kennedy's a mate of mine because I do also trivia here in Adelaide for the same company, Soundstorm Trivia, mate. So there you go. I'm not sure if you knew that or not.
Well, there's an opportunity. I think there's an opportunity for people to have a bit of fun. I think it's a great idea. Always keep working on your brain. The day you die, the day you stop learning is the day you die. So, and I think trivia is great for getting the grey matter going and have a bit of fun with friends. And
absolutely.
And you can all have your, whatever your tipple is, whether it's a wine, a beer, or a soft drink. You can bring that along yourself and join in the trivia. I think it's a great idea.
No, for sure. And I love the idea of the online sports, sports shows as well, rather than sort of, obviously at the moment we can't do the lunches and the dinners, but the idea of having, say, like a legend like yourself online, I think a lot of people would love that as well, Simon, to hear about your career. So.
Yeah, so there's, and there's a lot of the young sports people out there, both male and female, Olympians, footballs, of course, as we know that a lot of people would like to hear from, and there's a lot of quick, quick little bits on Instagram, etc., all our social media. But the type of interview that you could get as you do as lunches and dinners, where you go a bit more in depth and you've got a bit more time, and you've got a panel. I think that's a great idea. You could actually get, and in this type of situation, you get the right setup. A lot of people are still learning about online. They've never had online meetings. And a few of my meetings where people have, you're very good, Bevo, this come up straight away. A few people, it takes about 3 times to work out all the glitches in how do I connect and who's watching who and who's talking and clicking and, all that. But it's good. So I think it's a good way to, we've got to make sure we keep connected, make sure we don't lose our social connection, because one of the biggest problems is isolation. If you put a prisoner away because they've done something bad, and then they're even badder, you know what they do? They stick them in isolation.
Yeah,
that's punishment. So what we can't do is be isolated. We've got to make sure that I'm just thinking about that myself. In isolation, I'm growing this beard. Now, I used to have a beard ages ago. I thought I might try and grow this for the duration, but the way it's going, this might be around my knees. I might be tripping over it when we get out. But anyway, I might have a go. See how long it lasts before my wife or I get annoyed by it. But some just little things to keep you entertained.
Keep busy, yeah. I can see the guitars in the background as well. We'll talk about that in a moment, because you've got a close relationship with someone that's quite a popular Australian band. A lot of people will know about. We'll talk about that in a sec, though. But let's talk about your footy career, because you played the 378 games for the Bombers. Mate, your statistics are unbelievable. 17 times you represented Victoria, 3 times you were an All-Australian, 2 times a premiership player in 84 and 85. I could just go on and on. Talk about the highlights of your career.
Keep going.
The highlights of your career, obviously you've had many, but what were some of your highlights?
Oh, look, I still think that the highlight for me is there's a lot of individual highlights, fantastic. But I was lucky enough, and I look back and you do say lucky enough. I played in 2 premierships, and it's all about timing. You talk about Bobby Skilton, 3 Brownlow medals, 1 final, 1 loss. He loves state footy. So for me, being able to play in a premiership with a whole group of people, I think my greatest moment is '84 when the siren went, and there's this overflow of all these emotions. I looked around for the nearest player and happened to be Tim Watson, and you just grab him and you hug him and you sort of go, yeah, we've actually. And it's a real mixture of emotions. There's a relief. We finally, we said we're going to do this and we've done it. There's surprise that you've done it. There's real satisfaction that you've done it. There's elation that you've done it. It's a whole mixture of, and I think that for me, and I was lucky enough to get a North Six medal in '85. I've got some best and fairest. I've captained the state, which is another great honour. But that moment when you've actually realised your dream that you've been working on, I think that's the one that sticks in my mind the most.
And what was it like playing under the great Kevin Sheedy? Because obviously he's an interesting character. That's a couple of years praise in your time, or
you'll have to devote a whole hour and a half to Sheeds. I mean, he's fantastic. I try to. How do you explain Sheeds in a short, couple of sentences? I always talk about in. There's this line down the middle, and on this side's insanity, on this side's genius, and he walks this line like this. Because I'm having conversations with him, and you'd be going, "What? What was he talking about?" And about 5 years later, he'd go, "Oh yeah, cool. I see what he's talking about now." I'll give you an example. So I reckon 15 years ago, Kevin Sheedy said we should be playing a game of 4 points in China. And everybody said, no, you can't do that. Last 2 years, what have we done? Now, it might be different now, but what have we done? We've played a game for points in China. So he's only about 10, 12 years ahead of the game. And I think that's the amazing thing about him, that he was always looking to stretch himself, his players, the club, the game, and make it bigger and better at all stages. I mean, they brought in rules because of Kevin Sheedy. They brought in the 50-metre rule because of Kevin Sheedy. If we got a 15-metre penalty in our forward line, so their back line, he said, look, throw the bloke on the ground and get the 15 metres, because by the time they're set up, we would have covered everybody. And so they actually brought in the rule because of that. They brought in the rule because he said if the ball goes over the line, throw it in the crowd, and then we can actually set up our defensive around the stoppage. And so there's a rule that you have to put the ball on the ground and give it straight back to the umpire. So when somebody's working so hard to change the game, to our advantage, of course, but you think about the ways he's thought about it, he's been amazing. He's a legend, I don't want to tell him that, but he's a legend.
Because he already knows it. And now you've also started something else which is fantastic as well, Simon, which is a premiership club. For people that don't know much about that, tell us more.
Yeah, look, this is something I've been working on with Scott Kennedy. There's the AFL Premiership Players Club, and it's been around for a while, and it's growing. And what it is, it's a organisation to actually sort of make a fraternity out of, which is probably not the right name. You can't just use the male term, but not the fraternity, it's a sisterhood, the brotherhood, but a group of people who've played in premierships. And they have a couple of functions a year, and it's growing. And so we've got on board. Now we had a great function plan for later in the year. Funny about functions, but we're still planning to after all this put it together, that we get these great premiership players. They bring out a memorial of a group of stamps. I've actually got my original one up there at the back. That's there you go, how to work the camera. There you go, that little one there is the original Premiership Players Club set of stamps. And they put a Premiership player in each one, and they present them to them. And they have a great function. And it's just to celebrate premierships and people being part of it. So we're trying to help that grow, to help the group get that developed and make it bigger and better, because we talk about premierships all the time, and if you're lucky enough to be in them, you understand how hard they are to get, and how many great players might not play in them. But if you do get in one, and whether you've played 5 games, 50 games, 100, you're lucky enough to get in the premiership. It's something you should celebrate, and that's at all levels of sport. I always remember my son played football and basketball, and really enjoyed his sport. At one stage I said to him, how many premierships you played in? And he said something like, he said, 5 or 6. I said, is it 5 or is it 6? You should know exactly how many premierships you've played in. Don't just toss it aside like that. So it's something we're working on promoting and building up.
Yeah, I love the idea. Hopefully that can happen in Adelaide as well, because I'm sure there'll be a lot that would be wanting to be a part of that. So
I think it's something that people would like to be part of. I think it's something that would work really, really well.
Yeah. Now let's go back to the footy career again. The 80s, you were a part of that brutal era of footy. What was it like playing against some of the likes of your Mark Jacko Jacksons and these real characters, these real tough nuts of the game, Simon?
Look, it was a great era because, early on it got harder and harder in my time to have a job, but you had a job. So then you trained after hours, and that got harder and harder to fit to together, and played Saturday afternoon, and then of course it grew. But in the 80s, people say to me, like Mark Jackson, I remember at one stage I ran into him. He went to walk around and he doesn't move, move like an iceberg. And he sort of went like that. That's as far as he moved. And I tackled him, threw him to the ground. And of course, that didn't look good to the crowd. So the siren just went about 5 minutes later. And he made sure he was in my face and pushing and shoving and shouting at me right in front of the grandstand to make sure he's put the Jacko show on. There's a lot of it, as we know, there's a lot of entertainer in Mark Jacko Jackson. I know he had a book with slide, Dumb Like a Fox. He was always working to promote himself. He's very, very good at that. And so he's always making sure he's put a show on. So that was good. But people say, who's the best player you've played against? I played against a lot of good ruckmen, right? Early on from Wale Roberts, Gary Dempsey, Thompson at Collingwood, and my brother Justin, who was 6'10", Don Scott. You could just go through all. Sean Wren. When I was getting older and over in Adelaide, Sean Wren was coming through. I remember, playing against this young guy, going, "Geez, this bloke's pretty good. He's got to go. You've got to go a fair way." And so you run across that. In Essendon, I never split. I mean, I played with so many good players. And we were talking, as they do, we were talking about the 84-85 side. Which is better, the 2000 Essendon side? And I said, well, I'm biased, of course, but we won 2 in a row and they didn't, so I'm going to take that. But you look at the players we played with. But I'll never split Tim Watson and Terry Deniher. I put them as the most influential for me. But we had Paul van der Haar, Roger Merritt, Glenn Hawker, Merv Nagel. You could just go, on and on about it. All the players we had. Paul Weston came over from Adelaide. He likes to tell us that when he got there, that's when we won the premierships. So all this. But I think the one who stands out for me as the one just above anybody else. I was lucky enough to play with and against, but with Gary Ablett Senior. I played in state games with him, and he would do things that other blokes wouldn't. Now, you put Matthews up there, Carey up there, Greg Williams up there. I was lucky enough to play with a lot of great players in state football against great players. But to me, just Gary Ablett did things that other blokes didn't do, and that probably puts him just ahead of so many other great players that have played this game.
Yeah, I remember growing up in the 90s and just loving that era of footy when you see, remember that game, I think you probably would have played in it when Simon kicked 10 and Ablett kicked 14. That was just phenomenal. That
was the 90. You've always got to know your place in football. So I finished in 92. That was 93. I always remember saying, "Oh well, what are they going to do without me? Oh, they just won a premiership the next year. That's just you got to." But I use the other end of that where I played in a state game when I was 19, and it was before State of Origin. So anybody was in your state could play. So I played over in West Australia. I was 19, lucky enough to play young, and Peter Hudson was the full forward. And we run out in the ground, and we get down there, and we're in the forward, and he goes, now what's your name again? So, I'm Simon Madden, and he said, "Oh, that's right, yeah, now, where are you playing?" I said, "I'm playing in the forward pocket." "Oh, that's right." He said, "Could you move up the ground a little bit?" I said, yeah, sure, certainly. How far? He said, "I'm the wing." In other words, just get out of my way, So you've got to know where you fit in at certain times in your career.
Oh, that's a great story. Now, I mentioned before about the music side of things. You still love your music, and you've got the guitars. You're still in the band as well. Talk to us more about that, Tom.
Well, yeah, I'm in a band. Oh, it's funny. I played guitar since I was 10, I think. 9 or 10 was learned to play guitar on a Friday night in the local suburb. And I've just kept it up, and I'm in a rock and roll band. It's funny. It was actually 10 years ago. We were going to have a big 10-year reunion this month, I think. Funny about that. And a friend, Wendy Stapleton and Paul Norton, both great musos in Victoria and Melbourne. I'm not sure if they're known. I think they're known nationally too. But they talked us into putting a band together for one function. Paul did Weekend Warriors, which is an organisation that gets people together to, if they've never played in a band, to play in a band. And they talked us, me and a couple of friends, to doing it. And we used to jam, so they put it together for one gig. And 10 years later, we're still doing it. It's called Better Late Than Never. We're all, it's better late than never to play the guitar, play in a band, play the guitar. And it's hang on, just don't go up. Just to prove the point, I just, make sure people, you just think, like.
Oh, wow, what a treat.
Well, that's a bit wonky. But anyway, just, it's not fake. I can play the guitar. It's not just that. It's just, put it back in its right spot. It's not there for a prop. It's a real thing.
Now, I mentioned at the start of the show that someone from an Australian band that's actually quite well known. They did the song Solid Rock back in the day. That's Goanna. And I believe that you and your brother Justin actually played in that band once. Is that right?
Yeah, so Shane Howard and Marcia Howard, so both in the band, and people will still see Shane and Marcia singing around Australia. They're fantastic musos. And they had a big number one hit, and you can still, it's Solid Rock, but their first album, Spirit of Place, and they're our first cousins, right? First cousins. So we went to went to watch them record. Justin and I went to watch them record one day in a studio. It was great, just to see how it all works. And there's one song on the album's Spirit of Place album called Factory Man, which is written about Shane and Marcia's dad, my uncle. Lovely man, very keen Richmond supporter. We could never change him from that. And during the recording, the producer said, "Oh, look, we need some more male voices." And Shane said, "These two can sing." And he did this look, and so in the end, we've got all the members of the male members of the band, and Justin and I, and the producer with the cans on in the studio singing, "Don't want to be a factory man." I won't go into it all. And that actually made it onto the album. And he said, and in the proper vinyl album, there's a big insert where Shane thanks everybody. He's fantastic, thanks everybody. He's got a little line. He says, "I'd like to thank Simon and Justin Madden, people we could look up to, boom, boom, and for singing, as he called it, the Gentleman's Canteen Choir on Factory Man." So we actually have credits on the album in amongst hundreds of other people. We actually played with them. Both of us played the guitar with them on Hey Hate Saturday in the old days. People remember that.
Oh, one of my favourite shows.
So one of the times we went in and played with them on that. So little things like that have been fantastic. And if you look up now, here's interesting. If you look up the original video of Solid Rock, and it's done on, it's like not the so fancy ones they have now with video clips, but they're on stage, and the drummer is wearing an Essendon football jumper, and it's my jumper, so I gave it to Shane, sort of a bit of fun trying to, let's turn you into a Essendon supporter, not a Richmond supporter, I gave it to him, and the drummer, of course, like those days, it's proper woolen jumper with no sleeves, and the drummer goes, "Oh, that's a beauty! I'll drum in that." So that's actually my jumper on the clip in Solid Rock, and so that's my musical claim to fame. That's all I can do. There you go.
I love it. It's gold. And we'll finish with another light-hearted story. What's the best footy prank that you were involved in at the Bombers, or perhaps or you actually came across when you were there?
Oh, look, I never did any pranks, but I've seen some of the others.
Yeah.
I'd say I was involved. No, I think I know one of the ones. Was probably two. One, there's a number, but the one for my brother Justin actually, where he used to have a little. You can't see many of them these. A little square Volkswagen car, not a Beetle. It was a Volkswagen car, but people couldn't believe that he could fit in that. He'd sort of unfold out of it when he went to training. And of course, like all footy clubs, he came out one day and it was sitting on bricks with the four top chained to a pole right next door to it. And just sort of go, yeah, I could understand them doing that. So so close but yet so far. We had a friend of mine, or player as well, Stan Carey called him, Stephen Carey. He was injured one time, And so he liked the fact that while we're out training, he got a player who didn't play a lot of games, very good player, didn't play a lot of games, but successful outside of footy, Gavin Keane. He got the keys from his car, went down and made a copy of his car key and made a copy and come back. And over the course, because he's going to be injured for a few weeks, so over the course of the next 3 weeks, the first training night, he just moved the car 3 spots down in the car park. And you know how you come in and go, I thought I parked it there. Then the next training was about six car parks. And you could, did I want to do that? And then the next time was across the road. The next time was around the corner. And, Gavin was kind of going, what's going on there? If I just... So that was the other one, which did a little bit of damage you would never do now. Alan Essard, I think it ended up in his locker. Somebody got a flare. He decided to put it in the locker during training, right? And flares go, and smoke comes out. The whole training room was full of smoke, and the actual locker was burnt. It was actually, they're so flaming hot. Now, I would say you probably, don't do this at home, kids. It's that type of thing. But it was just a bit too much, that one, over the top, because it could have burnt the place down. But I never did any of those. I just was an observer. I didn't do any of them.
Yeah. You're a smart man then. Oh, that's absolutely gold. Actually, one more question I want to ask you before we go. You actually offered quite a bit of money to go to the Sydney Swans. Was there ever any temptation to do that?
Look, it's a little bit of folklore, but it's true. I would have. It's a long time. So at the end of '85, it's a long story. I'll try and cut it short. If I do a sportsman night, it's a very, very long story. Of course, but yeah, I got offered. I would have been the highest paid player if I had taken the offer. And it was 84, 85, just won 2 premierships. I won the Norm Smith medal in 85, and I was out of contract. So a really, really good area to be, negotiating from. And the great Dr. Edelson was looking for players, and I was offered in. It's common knowledge now. I was offered back then. So think about this. This is end of 1985 for the 86 season. I was offered $100,000 upfront cash to sign and $450,000 over 3 years, which would have been $550,000, which would have made me, I think, the highest paid player from what everybody said back then. If you extrapolate that now, that'd probably be about $800,000 upfront cash to sign and $1.2 million a year for 3 years. So about $4.4 million for 3 years. And I said no, which is, again, a whole long story, but I just wasn't sure the money was there, because back then there's 2 amounts of money, one you got offered and one you got, and they didn't necessarily add up. There was a second offer too. Following after the second offer, because I said, this just doesn't sound right. And the club were a bit surprised about the amount of money, but I said to them, show me you want me, and they did, so I stayed. But the second offer from the Swans was to $1 million over 10 years, so $100,000 a year for 10 years. Which is sort of like about 8 mil or 10 mil. It's probably a 10 mil deal like they've done to players here. And play for 5 and coach for 5. I remember saying, look, that's a great offer, but no, how can you plan 10 years ahead without something going on? And I said, that's fine, you can sign me up and I'll do a terrible job in your first year of coaching. I'll sack me, I'll still get 4 years pay. But there was the good Dr. Edelson too said, because I remember the negotiation, I said, there's a few issues. And I said, he said, what issues? And back then I was a teacher, I'd said before. I said, look, I've just got a new house. I've got a new family because we had just had a child born. Got a new house, a new family and a new job. And he said, what do you do for a job? And I said, I'm a teacher. He said, I'll get your job. I'll buy your school. Now that starts to get really interesting then when that happens.
Wow, that's a classic.
So may you live in interesting times. There you go.
Yes, very much so. We are in very interesting times at the moment.
What we started on.
And your life has certainly been one of very interesting times, Simon. Thanks so much for joining us today on Legends of Bevo and sharing those incredible stories. I loved hearing those, and also, yeah, like you mentioned at the start, Simon Madden Consulting. I'll get that a plug for you, and we'll talk more.
If everybody wants any online training, look at simonmadden.com.au. Have a look at that. I'm doing very good discount because I understand where people are. And funnily enough, I started my business in the global financial crisis. So it's actually nearly 12 years now. And people said, what are you doing that for? I said, people are going to need assistance coming out of this. They're going to need some direction. And so I've been doing that for a long time. So and really enjoy. And I think the thing is you enjoy helping people. And business is a very important part of everybody's life. So so please look up simonmadden.com.au and make contact.
Absolutely. Well, thanks so much again. You take care, mate, and we look forward to speaking again soon. And I like the idea of doing the Talking Talent online as well. I think that's a great one. So I'll give that a plug on our Facebook page as well.
Good on you, Bevo. Good luck with this. I think it's a great idea in the situation we're in to get for me to have a chat to people and for you to get others on. So good luck with it all. And everybody out there, be good, look after each other. Care, C-A-R-E, care, C-A-R-E, consideration, affirmation, respect and empathy. Let's care for each other. Make sure we look after each other. Good on you.
Well said, mate. Take care. Speak to you soon.
Legends with Bevo. Thanks to the Holdie Hotel, Coopers and Anytime Fitness Glenelg.